They came to save souls, to bring faith and medicine to the wilderness. But mistrust runs deep, and on a cold November morning it turned to blood. This is the true story of how a mission became a massacre, and how the dream of peace was buried beneath the Oregon soil. In the 1830s, missionaries Marcus and Narcissa Whitman left the safety of the eastern United States and traveled west to what was then the Oregon country, an untamed land of rivers, mountains, and tribal nations. They hoped to spread Christianity among the Cayuse people, who lived in what is now southeastern Washington. The Whitmans established a mission near Walla Walla in 1836. It was more than a church. It was a settlement, a school, a farm, and eventually a way station for American emigrants pouring in along the Oregon Trail. Marcus, a physician, tended to both white settlers and Cayuse alike. Narcissa taught children, ran the household, and chronicled their life in the frontier in letters that would become part of the historical record. But the Whitmans' dream of peaceful conversion never took root. The Cayuse had their own religion, their own medicine, and their own deep suspicions. While some were curious about the missionaries' message, many viewed the Whitmans as invaders, arrogant outsiders who had come not to understand, but to erase. For over a decade, tensions simmered. The Cayuse saw their lands trampled by settlers, their buffalo herds were diminished, their children were drawn into white schools, and perhaps worst of all, disease came with the missionaries. In 1847, a measles epidemic swept through the region. While the white settlers, many of them recently arrived from the east, had some resistance, the Cayuse had none. Their people began dying by the dozens. Children, elders, entire families. They had trusted Marcus Whitman as a doctor, and now many believed he had poisoned them. The Cayuse saw the imbalance, white children surviving, Cayuse children dying, and came to a grim conclusion. Whitman was using medicine to kill them off. On November 29, 1847, the violence erupted. A group of Cayuse warriors entered the mission under the guise of peaceful conversation. Inside the main house, Marcus Whitman was tending to patients. Narcissa was nearby, overseeing the children. Without warning, the warriors struck. They attacked Marcus first, beating and stabbing him repeatedly. Narcissa ran to help, only to be shot. Over the course of 2 days, 13 people were killed, Marcus, Narcissa, and 11 others, mostly men who worked at the mission. The house was looted and burned. 53 people, mostly women and children, were taken hostage. For nearly a month, the captives were held by the Cayuse. Some were treated decently, others harshly. Finally, in December, the Hudson's Bay Company negotiated their release in exchange for blankets, rifles, and ammunition. But the damage was done. The massacre sent shockwaves through the Oregon Territory. Settlers cried for vengeance. Newspapers called for war. The U.S. military moved in, and a brutal conflict known as the Cayuse War began, a years-long campaign of retribution and removal. In 1850, 5 Cayuse men, Tilukaikt, Tomahas, Clocamus, Kiamasumkin, and Isayachalkis, gave themselves up. Whether they had participated in the attack or not, they were tried and hanged. Their final words spoke not of guilt, but of duty. One said, "Did not your missionaries teach us that Christ died to save his people? So, we die to save our people." It was the tragic collision of cultures, belief, and fear. The Whitmans had come to save souls, but they could not save themselves, or the fragile peace between settlers and the Cayuse. Today, the site of the Whitman mission is preserved as a national historic site. A stone obelisk marks where Marcus and Narcissa were buried. The land is quiet, but its story is not forgotten. It's a reminder of how even the best intentions can be swallowed by misunderstanding, and how in the Old West, faith alone was never enough to survive. Thank you for listening to Deserted Trails. If you found this story worth remembering, consider subscribing for more true accounts from the forgotten frontier.